my first half marathon last year. I managed to achieve a time of 1 hour and 24, which was not too bad considering this was my first half marathon.
And ever since then, I started to adopt the runner's high. I started to have a greater interest in running, hence tracking my times, making sure I eat the right foods, and most importantly, running became part of my everyday training routine. So in today's video, I will be explaining my advice for anyone running a half marathon a week out. This is what you call your taper week. So tip number one is to effectively carb load. So for those who are new to running and want to actually address what is carb loading, you are consuming more carbohydrates throughout a week when it comes to race week. So say if your race is on the Sunday, the week leading up to that, you are slowly increase your carbohydrate intake. Carbohydrates are the primary energy source for the body. And when we eat carbs, they are stored in the body as glycogen. When we exercise, the muscle glycogen is broken down into glucose, and glucose is a form of what we use to utilize our energy stores. So that's why for me, throughout the week, I always try to keep my routine consistent. I'm used to eating high carb meals throughout the day, getting your whole grain foods, whether that be in a form of whole grain pasta, whole grain rice, and maybe if I have a race, for that week, I would increase my carbohydrate intake in a form of additional baguettes, for example. And a secret tip I usually do is 48 hours before a race, so that will be the Friday evening if I'm running on the Sunday morning, I would always go for a pizza. I'm not saying everyone should do this, it's just it works for me, and I feel that pizza gives me so much energy the next day.
Run! Run! I'm a fast kid.
You got it? Fettuccine Alfredo. Time to carbo load. That fettuccine was sitting in my stomach like a rock. Oh, Alfredo sauce. I'm getting a stitch. Ah, God. I feel so weak. Today, I had a triumph of the human body. That's why everybody was applauding for me at the end. I eventually puked my guts out. I never puked my heart out.
My second tip is to reduce the intensity and load of the workouts for that week. We do not want to get injured a week out. So I would highly recommend to reduce the intensity, maybe include a short run, a short swim, a light cycle during the week if you wanted to, just to get the body moving, because I wouldn't recommend to completely just sit down all day, because eventually you still want to get some fluid or blood flow in the muscles. But at the same time, all the training's already done by now. My main form of advice is to sleep. Get your 8 hours of sleep into you every night prior to the race day, because sleep is where you're going to get the best forms of recovery benefits, and it beats all these other products out there such as these muscle guns, these jet boots. Sleep is where you're going to reap the benefits. My third tip is hydrating correctly, because the more hydrated you are throughout this week, this is going to lead to a better fueling system for the weekend. As I referred to earlier in the video, if you are running a summer half marathon, the weather is still relatively hot, strictly speaking, from the UK. If you are not fueled for the day leading up to a half marathon, you may not have enough electrolytes in your system, which will drive down your glucose level and you will have less energy to the body. So I'm always a big advocate of fueling throughout the week, and if you can at least get 3 liters of water within your system, that should be more than enough to help you fuel for the run. But also on the day when you compete in races, there's always spots where volunteers provide water stations for you. And on top of that, there's also the debate of whether you should take a gel within a half marathon. So this works differently depending on the person, but I would say through experience, some people like to take a gel prior before the race and maybe another gel between mile 6 and mile 7. But again, this is strictly optional, and that's why I'm always a big advocate of incorporating gels within your training. So you know on race day, if you actually run with a gel, you can see if your body firstly adapts to it and likes it, because if you take a gel and you feel actually worse taking it,
Never.
do not do it then, because you have to listen to your body. Then you know on race day there's no things that would be unpredictable or would hinder your race. And now that brings me on nicely to my fourth tip, which is preparing for the day. When it comes to race day, of course, you're going to have initially some race nerves, which is natural. But again, you know you've already done all the work in training, and now is actually enjoying the race, enjoying the atmosphere, the people, and running your own race, because that's what I love about running. Running is very individual. We all start at a different level, but you want to compete for yourself, not for others. So in order to be prepared, you want to have your race kit laid out the day prior, so you do not forget anything on the day. Make sure you charge your watch to ensure that it does not run out of battery. And I should probably change from Apple, because the battery on Apple watches are terrible. Yeah, I need to go to Garmin. I'll make another video on that. Anyway, another key factor to be prepared on the day is to actually know what the race course looks like. Everything's all on the websites now, and the great thing about running, especially in the UK, there's a big organization called RunThrough. They lay out all the race information for the day, and if you can, depending on where the race location is, of course you have to plan your stay, logistics, etc. But if you can go a day before the actual race itself and try to walk or get used to your surroundings, this is what's going to make race day much more pleasant for you. And another tip to prepare on the day is to go running at the time of the race. Most races usually start at 9 AM UK time. With this, your body's going to get used to running at that time, and you have to anticipate if it's going to be hot on the day as well. The sun is usually out by then, compared to my normal Sunday morning runs where I usually leave the door around 7 AM. And finally, for my last tip, is to enjoy the day. Because look, running can get overwhelming to a degree. The more you get into it, the more serious you start to take, and you're always looking at your Strava to see if you broke a PB, if you achieved a faster time. That could cause a form of anxiety and pressure. So look, with running, you have to enjoy it, because if you do not enjoy running, then you don't have that motivation to get up when it's cold, when it's dark, in them early hours in the morning. The best accomplishments is when you are competing against you. And you know that, say when you do get a personal best in a race, you've done the hard work. It's all led up to that race day, and it's something to be proud of. I think a lot of people are always wanting more, which is great to a certain degree. But then again, you have to look at your own achievements and be proud of what the outcomes are. Thank you for tuning in into this video, and I hope you have gathered a few tips and tricks into improving your half marathon timing. So as always, please do like, share, subscribe, and feel free to comment any of your PBs you have recently achieved, because I know that we're in the half marathon season, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Until next time, ciao ciao.